Hello and welcome to Light Warrior Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Karen Can, author of the #1 best-selling book, Sensitivity is Your Superpower: How to Harness Your Gifts, Fulfill Your Purpose, and Create a Life of Joy. And if you are new to my channel and you're watching this on the tube, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Would love for you to get all my videos and some goodies as well. And speaking of goodies, we do have the Sensitive Soul Empowerment Guide, the 3 ways of navigating your way to more peace, positivity, and personal power. You can get that guide free at sensitivesoulguide.com. So if you are a sensitive soul, highly sensitive person, spiritual person, then that is a really great resource for you. Now today, I'm very excited to have my friend and colleague Ravinder Taylor with me today, talking about the science of self-destructive behavior. Did we know there was science behind it? I don't think so. But this is really exciting because Ravinder, I met her through her husband, Eldon Taylor, who I've had on the show multiple times. Incredible body of work that both of them have co-created together. But Ravinder's been kind of like behind the scenes, doing all this stuff. Like, I know she does a ton of stuff. And, Eldon has been front and center. So I end up, interviewing him. And I remember saying, reviewing their book that's coming out, Mind Training, coming out in the fall of 2024. And saying, well, Eldon, we got to get you back on the show. And he goes, no, I think you need to interview Ravinder. And I'm like, of course I do, right? So here we are. So let me tell you a bit about this amazing lady. So Ravinder is the president of Progressive Awareness Research Incorporated, a company dedicated to bringing the very best in personal growth products and services. She holds a Bachelor of Science in microbiology from, I'm not going to say the name of that university because that's really hard to say, Anyway, University of Wales, a Bachelor's of Metaphysics from the University of Metaphysics in Sedona, Arizona, and is an ordained interdenominational minister. She's also completed a 3-year course at the National College of Hypnosis and Psychotherapy in London, England. Her work with progressive awareness began by co-authoring the Peripheral Learning Desk Reference, a volume dedicated to reviewing thousands of research studies examining preconscious learning. She then spent the following 30 years researching both the theory behind why we do what we do, which is so interesting, and the practical applications of this learning. Ravinder greatly enjoys sharing this information on Progressive Awareness's weekly newsletter and thousands of one-on-one interactions with individuals seeking guidance for breaking through these blocks to success. Many have praised her insights and reported great success when following her recommendations. She also has co-authored and authored a number of personal motivation audio programs utilizing the inner talk technology, which we will talk about a little bit today. And she's the co-host of the popular radio show Provocative Enlightenment. I've been on it once. It was so cool. She has made numerous radio and personal appearances where she has discussed tools and tips for understanding and overcoming self-destructive behaviors. And today we are going to be talking all about that. So Ravinder, welcome to Light Warrior Radio. We're so thrilled to have you here finally.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's an honor to be here. And I'm looking forward to having you back on our radio show to talk about your book too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You guys are so awesome. We've known each other for a decade. I don't know, like it seems a very long time. Yeah. And I just love, and when I first met Eldon, I'm thinking, wow, why is this guy even paying attention to me? I'm like small potatoes here, but it was just such a beautiful blossoming of this like collegial, friendship and mutual respect. And yeah, I have so much respect for the work that you and Eldon are doing and continue to do. And I know your book isn't out yet, the Mind Training, but there was so much amazing research behind it. I really appreciate the amount of research that you have in your books. It's not just an idea, right? It like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. And a lot of people are publishing books with AI now about great ideas. This is real groundbreaking research, groundbreaking, experience that you're sharing. So tell us about your history. Like, how did you become who you are today?
It's been a journey. It has definitely been a journey, Karen. You know, my original background was in science. My degree's in microbiology from Aberystwyth University,
There we go.
which is in Wales, and you have to say it with a Welsh accent, but I still don't get that very well, but Aberystwyth. Yeah, love that place. But my background was very much in science. So after I got my degree in microbiology, I went to work in a path lab at the Leicester Royal Infirmary at the Public Health Laboratory there. And I suppose I was a bit of a science snob at the time, you know, this idea of if science doesn't show it, then it's not real. And there were lots of things back then that I disregarded. I could mock, I have to confess, you know, I was a snob. But then one day at the hospital, there are all these flyers that went up everywhere talking about a special presentation on hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Now, to me, at that point in time, hypnosis was something that you did on the stage. It was a type of thing where you got some idiot to jump up and pretend to be a chicken, or yeah, there you go. And so I didn't take any of it seriously at all. But here, there was a presentation at the hospital to the doctors, nurses, lab techs. You know, this was an official presentation for the people who worked at the hospital. And so to me, that had a quasi endorsement to it, the fact that it was there. So I went, and the guy who was presenting it was an anesthesiologist. And, you know, he went through lots of examples. So to me, the proof that hypnosis works, you know, coincidentally, it was a huge auditorium. It's a big hospital, so there were lots of people there. And in my particular lab, there are about 70 people working in the lab, and the majority of those people were in the auditorium, but in different places. You know, coincidentally, the three people that, you know, because he wanted people to come up and be subjects so he could demonstrate different stuff to us. Coincidentally, the three people he brought up from different places in the auditorium were all from my lab.
Wow.
So I had proof then that these were not just shills. This was real. What was going to happen was real.
Right, because you knew these people, and
Yep.
they were paid to do whatever he said.
And the people were just as skeptical as me. You know, I mean, when you're in the field of science, it's easy to be a snob. It is. So he had one person, Dawn, he had her forget the number 6. I think this all happened a long time ago. This is about 35 years ago now. But it did change the course of my entire life. But he had Dawn forget the number 6, I think.
Wow.
And so then out of hypnosis, he had her count up to 10, and she counted up to 10, and she missed that number, you know, which was fascinating.
Oh my God.
With Martin, he suggested analgesia. And so he put a pin in Martin's arm, you know, and Martin didn't react at all. And then the third thing, I've forgotten what the third subject was, but it was 3 different people from my lab that, you know, demonstrated this stuff. And the following day, Martin was very proud of this pin that had been stuck through his arm. You know, he displayed that in the lab the following day. So I knew that was all real.
Yeah.
But then he started talking about some of the kinds of things that you can uncover through hypnosis. And this is what I found fascinating. There was one particular story that he shared, and it was about this woman who came to see him because she had a pain in her arm. And she had been to all the doctors, had all the tests, seen all the specialists, and they'd been unable to discover why her arm hurt. And this had gone on for like 10 years.
Mm.
So under hypnosis, he had her go back to find the cause of this pain in her arm. And under hypnosis, she talked about some emotional events. Something had happened, something had embarrassed her. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was an emotional event of some kind. Now, after the hypnotherapy session, he's talking to her and she disregards it. She says, well, that was old news. That was old stuff. Yeah, I remember it, but it's not important, doesn't mean anything. So the session goes and the woman goes back home. 2 days later, she calls the hypnotherapist back and says, the pain's gone. The pain has gone. This unrelated emotional event, something like she was embarrassed by something or someone made her cry, just the type of, normal stuff that we can all go through. But her pain had gone. And she said it had disappeared that evening after the session that she had, but she didn't believe it. So it took her a couple of days to call the hypnotherapist up. And I found that fascinating. Why would an emotional event from a decade, 2 decades ago, whatever, cause a pain in your arm? What is it? What are these underlying processes that go on, these underlying influences in our lives? I found that fascinating. I found the whole area of hypnosis and hypnotherapy fascinating. So after that, I went and attended a school. I went to the National College of Hypnosis and Psychotherapy, hypnotherapy. So I did that for 3 years, and it was at the conclusion of that. See, I had, we learned how to do hypnosis, how to put someone under hypnosis. We learned all the different techniques. And I recorded a couple of hypnotherapy sessions for myself, because it's a great way to uncover information that you're not aware of. But what I discovered was it was easy for somebody else, because we practiced on each other in the class. It was easy for someone else to put me under hypnosis. But when I played my own programs, I had some resistance to them. And
really?
I didn't quite understand why I would do that. And then I heard about, this special class being done by this expert from America, Ravinder Taylor, talking about, and I was thinking, well, maybe I can find the answer to it there. What kind of resistance would I have to it? And that time I didn't have any idea about subliminal, again, other than on the TV and some of the crazy stuff that they portray. But as you say, from there, my whole life took another turn. I found the process fascinating. I found Eldon fascinating, of course. It was one of those. If you do past lives, I would say that we knew each other. I recognized his voice.
Oh.
From the moment I walked into the class, I heard a voice and that was it.
Wow.
I heard a voice, I turned and saw him, and I didn't recognize him, but I knew the voice. I knew it.
That's fascinating. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
we
Now, was that also
totally
in England?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That was in England. And then he invited me over because he had a similar kind of experience. It was like our souls recognized each other. Not a very scientific approach, but we have those experiences. You can't deny,
Right.
We all have experiences that defy explanation. So denying them doesn't help anybody. So
Yeah, I remember reading the Choices and Illusions book first, and the passage that really impacted me a lot, I think I've told Eldon this, but I haven't, told you in person, is there's a piece that talked about, some of the inner talk technology with cancer patients that were kind of hospice level, like basically sent home to die, right? And they were checking in, asking the provider, questions like, do you think the mind has anything to do with, health healing, and then the patient as well. And it just floored me to find out that if the first of all, it made sense that if the client or the patient didn't believe and the doctor didn't believe that the mind had anything to do with it, that they all died. Okay, that I got, right? But the point was when the patient believed that the mind had something to do with their well-being, but the doctor did not believe that they all died too. I'm like, no. It was just like, oh my gosh, what I believe as an authority figure, as a doctor, it's really, really important. I cannot infect my patients with my negative belief. I need to believe in their healing. And that was just so impactful. I keep quoting that over and over again through various different avenues, but some of the research that you've both done has just been incredible. So whew, yeah,
The
yeah.
power of the authority figure is incredible.
Well, we've seen a lot of that lately.
But it's also, if a person speaks with confidence, that can impart the authority figure aspect as well. So yeah, you do have to pay attention. You have to, yeah, you have to think differently, because one of the things that I've learned the older I get is people aren't as smart as you think they are. Just because someone has, they're not. There are lots of people who claim to be experts. Doctors don't have all the answers.
No,
Doctors are trained in this small little field. They have information about these little areas, but they don't have the global. Doctors also will treat for the average, for the normal, you see, and that this is a huge objection I have. I don't see, it's easy for a doctor to disregard something because, well, you're that age. What else do you expect? No, I expect a whole lot more. I'm not competing with other people my age. I'm competing with my best version.
yes.
I want to be my best. I don't want to be average. And if you look out of the world, the average, well, look at obesity rates. Well, I'm not part of that spectrum. I don't have any desire to be part of that spectrum.
Absolutely. And I just think it's very interesting how, is especially, we won't say the censorable stuff, but over the last few years, that the experts, and whether it be my family or friends, listening to the experts, and then I go, well, but that expert hasn't actually helped anyone, has not actually like cured or helped anyone with this particular set of symptoms, and people know what I'm talking about, right? So you're listening to this expert who's on TV who actually hasn't treated successfully a patient, and then you've got this other person over here that's treated thousands of people successfully, but we're going to censor and not listen to this person. This does not make any sense to me, people. Right? And this is
There's a great
over
deal
and
of that.
over and over again. Yeah. And then the other thing too, Mike, this is one of the things, call it defensiveness or whatever we want to call it, is people telling me what I should do, right? This is what you should do. How dare you be a medical doctor and not say you should get this, right? Like, oh my gosh, like you're being really irresponsible. So I'm like, okay, so if whoever's telling me that, if you are happier, healthier, stronger, more successful, impacting more lives than me, you know what? I'm going to listen to you, at least hear you out. But if you're not, then I'm just going to move on, right? So that's how.
Totally agree with you, Karen. Totally.
Yeah. Well, T. Harv Eker used to say that one of the things poor people do, because he was an abundance coach, he said what poor people do is they listen to other poor people. And
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about the self-destructive, self-sabotaging behavior, because sometimes we don't even know at whatever level we're at, that we do it. And I didn't know that maybe there's some science behind it. So yeah, let's kind of dive in to that topic. Share some of your wisdom on that.
There's a bunch of stuff right there. I think first of all, this whole idea, people often, they're totally unaware that they have self-destructive patterns. And the fact is, we all have them somewhere in some area. It's going to be that. But, I've spoken to lots of people, and they say, what do you mean self-destructive patterns? Why would I have, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm doing all the exercise. I'm doing my best in all of these areas. I'm working hard at it. So why would I sabotage my own goals? And, you have to look at subconscious processes when you think of all of this. And there's different directions that you can go there. Of course, it begins with some of the work of Freud. Now, not everything Freud taught holds up very well, but his idea of there being subconscious processes that influence our behaviors. One of the things that I looked at a bit more deeply when I was researching the mind training book is this idea of female hysteria, because that's where Freud got some of his ideas, because he was working under Charcot at the time, and they were treating females with female hysteria. And what he discovered was there was often, if there were emotional underpinnings to the problems these women were having, and if they could release those emotions, and frequently the females would cry during therapy, whatever, and once they released it, the problems disappeared, just like the example I told you about the hypnosis. As soon as she uncovered it, it went away. But I found the idea of female hysteria really fascinating too, because in 1980, it was in the DSM still.
Was it
as
really?
a real condition. Yeah. I
Oh,
think
okay.
it disappeared right about then. But I remember thinking, so at the time I was preparing to go away to university, female hysteria was still a condition that they looked at. And the
Wow.
condition could have symptoms such as likes to read a lot, likes to write a lot. It's really dumb stuff. But
Seriously?
you think of the consequences to it. You think of the consequences to this, this whole idea that women are weak. They're weak-minded. They're not strong. They fall apart at the smallest thing. You think about what that does to 50% of the world's population if there's an idea constantly out there that women are weak. We've had a lot to battle through
That's
in order
true.
to create some changes. And some people are resistant to that even so. There's going to be places you're going to find people, not only in, the third world type countries, even here, you will get women who will still say the same stuff. So we're still battling that. But yeah, I mean, I find that really fascinating. That was a bit of a tangent, but that's just my thing, We've got to stick up for women. So yeah, so Freud introduces this idea of subconscious processes. But then in the 1980s, work was done by Libet, who shows that there is action in the subconscious mind before you make a choice. So he actually demonstrated that, and other scientists came after him using fMRI and using electrodes, and they all show activity before you make a choice. So using fMRI, a technician can look at the information they have and tell you up to 7 seconds ahead. Now, in these examples, they're looking at a choice between, do I press this button or do I press that one? How the heck do you have 7 seconds ahead of that? And I found it hard to believe, and I researched it deeper and deeper, and it's like, nope, that's definitely it. So when you make choices in your life, you're drawing on all of this subconscious information that is buried there, and you don't look at that information. You don't assess all your life experiences, everything someone has told you. It all gets bundled together, and out comes something that may not be in your best interest. So for the person who's trying to lose weight, to bring it back to that example, the person who's trying to lose weight, yeah, They can be determined to lose weight because it's the healthier option. They're going to feel better, blah, 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 blah. But if they've also got the belief that under stress, you need some self-care. And what better self-care is there than a bowl of ice cream? You know?
And we see that in movies, right?
What's that?
We see that in movies.
Oh,
You know, the
yes.
girl gets dumped, right? She's sitting there crying her eyes out with a bowl of ice cream.
And that reinforces the idea that that's what you're supposed to do.
Yep,
So
that's what you do.
know,
Even
or
the guys
perhaps
are doing that now.
Yep. Or your mom tells you have to finish up all the food on your plate, or
Oh yeah.
or you know, you can have other subconscious things like you know, especially for girls as they go through puberty and they have all these body changes and everything, and it can be uncomfortable to all of a sudden get unwanted attention, you know. So perhaps they put on extra weight in order to deflect it. There's a gazillion reasons that can come into conflict with this idea of I want to lose weight. And to give you a different example, maybe you want to be successful in business, but as a child you had to do a presentation in class and everybody laughed at you. These things lodge into your subconscious mind. Everyone laughs when I'm up in front speaking. Therefore, I don't want to get up in front speaking. But if I take this promotion at work, I'm going to have to lead these meetings. And maybe there's 10 people in the meeting. Maybe there's 100 people. You're going to have to speak to people. And all of a sudden, you do something to sabotage your ability to get that promotion. There are subconscious strategies underlying everything that we do.
That's amazing, because sometimes people, and this happened to me, so I'm personalizing it. Well, we're like, no, that's, you know, life happens. But I'll give you an example, like where I recognized where it wasn't an outside source creating my reality. So my parents had given me this gift of money, and this is several gifts they've, you know, given over the years, a very generous gift. I came home and very quickly, my whole septic system needed to be replaced. Like literally the all the money that they gave me had to fix something. And that happened, I think 2 or 3 times. And then finally I was like, oh, wait a second. I'm manifesting this. So what is the pattern? What happened before? And I remembered it was like when I was a child, my grandmother on my mom's side was very generous with jewelry, and that's what you do in Chinese, you know, cultures. You give jewelry to the females. And I was 6 years older than my sister. My sister was a big tomboy at that time. So my grandmother would say, "You're my favorite. You pick first." And I had so much guilt around picking first. I'd be like, okay, what is Cindy gonna like? What if she likes this one? But what if I pick it? And then she, you know, then she gets mad at me because, you know, and this whole drama. I'm 6 years old, right? Like, no, sorry, not 6. I'm 12 years old. So she's 6 years old. So this whole drama comes out. So then I felt so guilty. Then every time I got a windfall of something, I would quickly find a way to get rid of it because I didn't feel like I deserved it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That is a huge underpinning to self-destructive patterns, is feeling unworthy, undeserving, sense of fairness, all of that stuff comes into play.
Yeah, and it's amazing how we can get the universe to conspire with us to actually make our machines break down. You know, make the septic system break down right at this perfect time when I get a windfall of money. Wow, okay. You can't spend it on anything pleasurable. No. We're going to get rid of that money as quickly. And then I just said to the universe, okay, I got the message and we're done. We are done with this pattern. Okay, I'm deserving. I see where the pattern is. And then that never happened again. So, whew.
Perfect. You have to make a conscious choice to choose differently. You know, you have to choose. It can sound weird because, you know, obviously you choose to be prosperous, you choose to be successful, but do you really? I have an example of that, not to do with money, but with cognitive abilities, a huge factor. As you get older, I think that the biggest fear, I was listening to a podcast just this morning, the biggest fear people have is dementia and Alzheimer's.
Really?
Yeah, that's a huge aging fear there, or just declining cognitive abilities. And I talk to people on the phone, we have lots of customers all the time. It's a huge issue. And I suppose I have some of that fear myself. It's just, or I had some of that fear. You want to stay sharp. I want to live long. I want to be as healthy as possible, as long as possible, and I want my mind fully intact. I want to be me. So I started working, in a talk, we have various programs for like advanced memory, cognitive, enhancing cognitive abilities. I'm drawing a blank on the third title that I always
Memory,
use.
the memory one?
Huh?
Memory and learning, or?
It is memory, releasing mental blocks.
Oh, okay.
Classic. Of all the things for me to forget, releasing a mental block. So I started playing those programs. And what I found is, I think somewhere in my subconscious mind, you get these memes everywhere. You cannot avoid them. But these memes that say, oh, you can tell you're getting older because you go into the other room and you forget what you were there for.
Oh, right. And then we laugh at them,
That's
right?
common. You see those things and everybody laughs it off.
Yeah.
But it goes into your subconscious mind. It does. It feeds that stuff. So when I started working with these programs, I actually saw a change in myself. And one of the important changes was I choose to remember. So I could have that experience, I would go into the back room to get something out of storage, forget what it was. And it's like, no, I choose to remember. And I could literally see the memory turning around.
Nice.
It's weird. It can, yeah, it
Totally.
sounds weird, but it was the experience I had. I could see this memory turn around. It's like, I choose to remember. But choosing to remember goes even deeper than that. For my entire life, I've been bad at people's names.
I used to say that.
And I realized at one point, it's not that I'm bad at people's names. It's that when I'm introduced to someone, I was so self-conscious, preoccupied with how they were perceiving me, that I wasn't paying attention to what they said.
Yeah.
So after working with the cognitive abilities and the removing mental blocks programs, I found myself doing things differently. So if I was introduced to someone, I would write their name down. So we had people move in next door to us. We're out in the country, so people don't talk to next door neighbors that much. We're all on 5-6 acre lots, and there isn't much communication. But I was introduced to our neighbors. I went home and wrote it on the board. In the kitchen. I made an effort. And you can say, well, is the program improving your memory, or is it your changing habits that are improving the memory? It's like it's all part of the same thing. You have to believe that you remember. If you don't think that you can remember something, you're going to have those thoughts filling your mind.
Right.
I can't remember. I don't remember. My memory's not very good. Your mind's full of that instead of, I can remember. I can remember. I choose to remember.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a really good one. Because how many of us do see those memes, right? And I know now how I'm receiving it and laughing at it now is different from 10 years ago. But now I see those and I laugh and I can feel into what everybody's laughing about. And I know it's attached to that belief of I get older and I lose my mind, right? But I know within myself, it's like I'm just not paying attention. I'm not being
Yeah.
fully present. And that is like, oh, I'm not being fully present. So when I do that, and I'll laugh at myself going, I forgot why I was here. I guess I was not fully present, right? And then that, but it's a different thing because it's now rewired, and we'll talk about rewiring in a second, different ways, but rewired to the Karen, perhaps you were not present, as opposed to Karen, you're getting old, because that program is gone. So it's kind of cool. But I see it all the time in people, and at least I don't react to other, because that's my other stage 2 was reacting to other people's beliefs that I no longer believed, and that reaction is not good either, because I'm reinforcing because of the energy. But now I just sort of accept it and go, oh yeah, that's okay.
There's a couple of techniques. There's a technique Eldon has. I found it amusing because he's done it the entire time I've been with him. And at first I found it amusing, but whenever something happened that he didn't like, or he didn't want those thoughts in his mind, cancel.
Yes, I've learned that from him. Yes.
Yeah, and that's a huge one. And he would do that all the time. Back then you had to watch the commercials on TV. If you're watching TV, you couldn't fast forward through them.
Right.
You had all of this, and so many commercials again are designed to tell you that you are deficient in some way. You have to
be happy when you have this drug.
Yeah, or you have to have this concealer in order to hide these blemishes in your skin, as though you're supposed to be porcelain immaculate all the time, and that's not real. The whole idea that perfect skin is beautiful and anything else isn't. Get away from me with that stuff. I think there isn't anything more beautiful than an old person with their face full of smile lines. That smiling face, the experiences they've been through, their deep eyes. There is so much more beauty there than in the young person who hasn't lived, hasn't experienced anything, and is obsessed with every tiny little blemish and whatever. But media does that to you. You're inundated with that stuff. So cancel works really well.
Oh, I love that. I do this one. I go like this, erase. Especially when I say something out of habit that no longer serves. I go, whoops.
Yep.
When I catch it, whoops. Erase. What I meant was, and then I'll say it the way that I meant.
And the more you do that, the easier it becomes. The more you do it, your subconscious will learn in time, but it doesn't lock in those negative ideas.
Right. And do you ever watch movies? I'm like, my husband is a movie buff, so I'll watch these movies. And now what happens is we can't help it. We'll pause and go, oh, did you see the programming there? Do you see what they're trying to do? They're trying to program us for such and such, right? And then we'll pause it because we have to have a little mini discussion about the programming, and we'll look at each other like, did you catch that? Did you catch that? Did you catch what they were trying to infect us with? And he's like, oh yeah,
I love it.
We can still enjoy the movie.
Our house is exactly the same. And it's not only movies, I watch for manipulation. So when there are debates on TV, presidential debates and all of this stuff, you can watch the tactics that they use. If you're watching on a channel that supports the Republicans, then they will have a nice picture of the Republican candidate and a horrible picture of the Democrat. And vice versa. There are all of these little manipulations that go on. And Eldon and I do that all the time on the sofa. Watch out for that. Oh God, they're doing that again,
Right.
All of this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know Disney had all these, subliminal, not so subliminal, but like these little, we won't say it publicly here, but pictures of sexual things in their cartoons. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I love those cartoons, right? But somehow it makes it in there, but I didn't see it. You know what I mean? It's not so obvious till somebody slows it down and then points to it and go, phallic symbol. I'm like, oh, right?
Absolutely. All of this stuff does, and they will use every tactic that they can. But before we move on for this, the other technique that you can use when you're around negativity, and we're all around it all the time, is, you know, if I'm talking to someone, I've got a friend here who's my age as well, and she's always coming in saying, "Oh, I'm getting old. We're getting old, Ravinder. We have to slow down." And no, don't say that. Don't say that. We are not. Old age doesn't mean that you have to slow down. That's an old idea. That is something that has been put on us. So whenever someone says anything like that, I say, no, that's not true. Don't tell me I have to slow down. You know, my oldest sister was doing that all the time. You know, we're getting older now, Rin. We have to slow down.
So do you get backlash from that, because they just kind of roll their eyes and going, yeah, well, just you wait till whatever, like, you know, like, how do you handle that?
You know, when it's family, and, you know, friends from the past year, you can get a great deal of that. They don't believe that, or they say, oh, she's just on a positivity kick. And it's like, you know, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. That's the expression. So I do the best that I can. You know, if it's someone I care about, then I will carry on. If I'm meeting too much resistance, I let it go. That's their choice. I like surrounding myself with people who are open to learning something new. If you think you know everything already, you can't learn anything new.
Right.
You have to be open to different ideas. And I've learned that in my own life, you know, as I all the way back from being a science snob. And there are a few things that I have mocked in the past I'm ashamed of today. It's like, no, there is something to crystal healing. I don't understand it. But I do that. Energy healing, there is something there. Don't understand
I've been there
all,
where I mocked.
but I'm not gonna dismiss it anymore. You know, you have to be open to learning new stuff, but still keep your discerning faculties in place, because again, there are lots of crazy ideas out there. You just have to think it through. You think it through. You have to believe in your own ability. I was at a HAS presentation once, and there was a presentation going on, and it was a scientist on stage talking. But he was talking about a field I was familiar with, obviously biology, microbiology. I know, and I was aware that he was throwing out terms that were biological jargon, you know. So it sounds impressive to people who don't know anymore. But when you know it, it's like, okay, big deal. But this other author came up to me, and I pointed this out to her, and she said, oh, but I'm not smart the way you are. I don't have a background in science. And it's like, hang on. In most instances, you can go back to what you have learned in high school. When it comes to science, there are very basic principles in place that, you know, aim, method, results, conclusions. You know, that's just one of those things. Even today, I spout off. There are basic principles that we know. So if you're running a scientific study of some kind, you have to keep the variables. You have to control the variables. You know, you can't. There's been some work done in the field of subliminal. There was a paper that came out some years ago that basically said subliminal programs don't work. But in this particular study carried out by profs at prestigious universities, you know, I actually take this apart in mind training. But what they did was they took off-the-shelf subliminal programs from 3 different companies and tested them to look for efficacy. 3 different companies producing programs. They don't even have a definition of what subliminal is. You know, in this particular research, their definition of subliminal was it wasn't there. And that's not the definition that we use. You know, you can, if you bury it so far that it's like expecting to hear a musician at the other end of town and hear them playing, you're not going to. So no, you can't bury it so far. But if you take 3 different companies using 3 totally different technologies, even if one of the technologies works, you're not gonna detect it. You know,
Oh, are
you
you
have to
saying they
keep
averaged it
learning.
out or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It was daft, and it was bad science. And as I said, I do take it apart fully in
yes, that's right.
mind training. But yeah, there are basic things that we know. So don't just take a headline of what it said. It's like, well, what
So
exactly did they
tempting.
do? Well, a common one is there was 100% increase in XYZ, whatever it was. But hang on, if there was only 1 in 1,000 originally, and now there's 2, that's 100% increase.
Absolutely.
But
Or
2 out of
90,
1,000.
94% efficacy of something, right? You know, but if 1 out of, 100 people actually die from that, or, or 1 out of 10,000 die from that, then what's 94% efficacy actually mean? Like in terms of numbers of people that survive. People are thinking
Yeah,
thousands of people survive,
exactly.
where it's like, no, there's like point something of a person survives, because of there's only 1 person that actually dies out of all these people. Oh wow, yeah, it is challenging, I think, Ravinder, for the most people who are looking at the science, because people keep saying things like follow the science, and that's a mantra, right? That is a mind programming mantra, follow the science. Because if I say something and they say, well, she obviously is not following the science, and I'm like, you mean following the propaganda? you
Yeah.
know like, why am I following the science? Maybe we, instead of following the science, why not, delve into it and like pick it apart, or entertain it or something. But following it just doesn't feel right. Like, just because somebody says something and there's a headline doesn't mean that's actual science, and if it's
Yeah.
any good at all.
Just because there's an expert and
Yeah.
they say something, you have to look at, well, what exactly does that mean? We saw a great deal of that during the COVID stuff, and they talk about, these percentages. It's like, well, what does that mean? How many were there? You have to ask the questions. You have to trust yourself and not turn so much over to the authority figures. You have to be aware that they're going to spin numbers to suit whatever suits them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the nice thing is being aware of that possibility, or like you said, being open to it. We don't have to be depressed about it. We don't have to be like, oh, the world's terrible, or anything like that. But just that awareness is like, oh wow, okay, now that I know that that happened, how am I going to choose? Right? How am I going to make choices in the future? And yeah, maybe it does require a little bit more groundwork, but it depends on your priorities, right? Somebody's whose health, or natural health for that matter, is not a priority. There was a meme going around. I think my sister actually perpetuated it as well. That said, well, I don't know what's in a whatever. I don't know what's in a McDonald's shake. I don't need to know what all the ingredients are, right? And you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, she's like, well, I don't have to know all the ingredients, right? I'm like, okay, well, some of us do. Some of us would like to know. Some of us
That's
are
your
going to be
choice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's funny how that, and I could tell immediately that was purposefully planted. Somebody started it and everybody propagated. I'm like, oh, you guys are so smart. You guys are so smart, right? So, yeah, it's so fascinating, so fascinating. So tell us about the ways in which, and you gave us several very, very great techniques here, or methodologies, and how we can respond, to some of this programming, the self-sabotaging, subconscious stuff. What else, can we do? How else can we change the programming? You mentioned inner talk, so maybe you can share what that is exactly.
Absolutely. We have to realize the power of bad. I think that's actually the title of a book by Baumeister. He's done a great deal of
Mm,
research. in The Power of Bad. You have to realize that painful situations, negativity, all of those kinds of things, they hold more power. And one of the things that they have found, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was Gottman did work in relationships. And he found that if something happened in a relationship, say, you know, the husband did something that the wife didn't like, one apology or one act of contrition wasn't enough, because he had done something to hurt her, or vice versa. I'm not sexist. If they've done something to offend the other person, then what they found was it took 5 positive things in order to counteract that negative. Now, you think about life in general, and Baumeister said in his book, The Power of Bad, he goes through a whole bunch of this stuff. But you think of the world around us, you think of every time someone has said something negative to you, and it goes all the way back to your childhood. It's all part of, you know, Freud's subconscious reservoir of information. If you think every negative thought has 5 times more power, then it's going to take a whole lot more to counteract it. And that was what Eldon was working on. You know, when I first met him, he had developed the inner talk technology. It's been patented, so it makes it totally different to everything else out there. There's actually 105 claims to the original patent. So there's 105 little aspects to the technology that distinguish it. But the idea was to find a way to inundate the subconscious mind with positive beliefs in order to cancel out this negativity. So he created the inner talk subliminal technology. It's been researched by numerous independent universities and institutions, such as Stanford University, Colorado State University, Bremen University in Germany. You know, it has been demonstrated effective at priming how you speak to yourself. If you think about it, when we go around, we talk to ourselves all the time. That little chatter goes on constantly. And if you're having a bad day, as an example, you know, that chatter is going to be, God, I can't wait till I get home. I'm so tired. I'm fed up. I hate this. I hate that. I hate talking to people. I hate doing this, you know. When you're having a bad day, that's going to be the kind of talk. But if that talk were to change, and that talk, rather than saying, I'm depressed, the world sucks, if instead that self-talk was, I'm happy, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I can do it, I choose to, I can, is such a powerful expression. I can do this, you know. And in any area that you have, you know, to choose the positive, to believe that you can do it. If you can change that self-talk, that constant chatter is a reflection of what sits in your subconscious mind. So if you can change the self-talk, then that, you know, the body has a two-way system. You know, the mind affects the body, but the body affects the mind too. So you talk about happy brain chemicals, you know, you're familiar with those, the oxytocin, the dopamine, the serotonin. Some of this stuff happens automatically, but you can influence it too. You know, you can change your behaviors to influence it. And smiling is a favorite one of mine. You know, you have these positive brain chemicals, you smile, but it works the other way too. If you smile, your body will produce the happy brain chemicals. So I actually go around smiling more to myself. You know, every time you smile, you can make a habit of that. I do that. Once I started looking at this more deeply, every time I go to the bathroom, I wash my hands, I look in the mirror, and I'll smile at myself. And I'll say, you can do it. It's okay. You know, and you'll be surprised at that uplift in how you feel. But there are loads of negative beliefs. You know, our subconscious mind can be a swamp of negative beliefs. And so Elder created the inner talk subliminal. I said, researched by numerous independent universities, been demonstrated effective. Progressive awareness, our company has been around for like 35 years now, actually coming up 40, it's 39 years, I have to calculate that.
Amazing.
It's been changing lives for people around the world. We have customers who have been customers since the very beginning. I talk to them, they talk about having bought them on cassette programs, they talk about how it has changed their lives. And then we have more recent customers who just discover us, they come in for a specific issue, and then they start looking at what else it is that they can do. But inner talk works by priming that self-talk. Subliminal information isn't mysterious, magical, or anything. You can look at, imagine being in a party, lots of conversations going on all around you. You're not paying attention to other conversations. But then at the other side of the room, someone mentions your name, or they're talking about someone that you know. Your ears prick up. Your subconscious mind was paying attention. It was just filtering out the stuff that didn't matter. And as soon as something mattered, so it's taking in this information. So a subliminal program created correctly, you can't have affirmations in the second person, because if that self-talk is you are good, well, that's not going to help my esteem.
Right.
It's going to, help me feel inferior to everybody else, because you and you and you are good, but what about me? So it has to be in the first person. It has to be the correct depth beneath the primary carrier. So you can't have the musician playing the other side of town and expect to benefit from it. But just like the conversations in the room, it's got to be right there. So it's just out of you, and you can't, positive affirmations are all good and well. They do help, but you'll argue against them. So you have an affirmation that says, I am good. And if you hear that audibly, you can say, well, I'm not so good really, because I was short with my son the other day, and I could have been nicer in this situation, and I was downright mean then, so I'm not so good. You will argue back. You have all of these defense mechanisms in place. Inner talk is designed to bypass all of that, to go directly into the subconscious mind. And when it comes to self-destructive patterns, all of these negative beliefs are going to sabotage your efforts in whatever area that you're looking at, whether it's weight loss, whether it's in relationships, if you believe you always attract the wrong relationship, if you believe you don't deserve prosperity, so things keep breaking in the house every time you come into money, you want to change the belief, and it takes a great deal of repetition to do that. So with the inner talk subliminal programs, I play inner talk programs every day. I've got one playing in my bedroom. It plays all night long while we sleep. I've normally got different programs playing in my player. I've got them on my phone. Sometimes I'm working at specific issues. Eldon has this expression of how high is up. And what you find is, you fix one thing, but then it's like, what else could I do? What else could I achieve? How much more? What else? What other area can I work in? So by playing the subliminal programs you have going on in the background, just like in this party when someone is talking, but you're not paying attention to it, you have, I am good, I am capable, I remember, I choose to remember, I can remember, my mind heals me, my body heals itself. There's so much work in the area of placebos that's hard evidence that your mind influences how well something works, or if you can recover from something. If I'm coming down, if I think I'm coming down with a cold or something, at the very first sign, I'm going to put on accelerated healing. 99% of the time, I don't come down with something. If I do come down with something, I still use accelerated healing, and I get over it better. After my youngest son was born, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow.
And I used all of these things that I talked to you about, all of this idea of the subconscious programming. I looked at what I could be doing to punish myself, to have brought this on myself. You know, I took responsibility. And the beauty of this is you don't have to share the information with somebody else. You don't have to talk about it. You just have to be honest with yourself and question yourself and trust yourself that the answers are there. You have the answers in your subconscious mind. You start questioning and the answers will start appearing. So I went through all the reasons why I could have brought it on myself, but I also played accelerated healing every night, all night long. I looked at other alternative treatments. I looked at other things too. I tried some things. I tried, you know, but I was very discerning about what it was I tried. And 15 months after, I cured myself of the RA.
Nice.
Um,
That's awesome. That's great.
know,
Now,
and
if somebody, let's give the name on the internet. It's www.innertalk-store.com. So inner, INNER, talk, TALK, all one word, store.com. And Ravinder, is there like, if someone were to start out, is there like a starter program that you would suggest? Because you have a lot of different, what you've got, like MLM success, you've got the accelerated healing, you've got one for cancer, you've got, you know, so is there like one or two that you highly recommend for somebody just kind of starting out?
You know, a good library for everyone to have is going to be the Eliminating Self-Sabotage. Because that deals like with the core issue, and that is behind everything else. So I would say that if you have something in your life specifically that you're trying to fix, you know, if you're trying to stop smoking, if you're trying to find the correct relationship, find a good relationship, if you're trying to bring more harmony into your relationship, we have enhancing romance, intimacy, and love. But if you get the Eliminating Self-Sabotage and then choose a title, you can literally go to the search box and enter something: romance, intimacy, success, money, prosperity, whatever it is. Find another complementary program to go along with it. That's what I would be suggesting that you do, because you want to have proof for yourself that this stuff is really working. So finding something that is emotionally significant to you. Once you begin this work, you know, I don't have to feel every program. There are some programs you're not going to feel a difference with. Quantum Younging is a program that I play a lot. You know, I'm not going to be aware that I'm feeling young. I feel 20 today. It doesn't work that way. It's not like releasing fears or releasing anger. You know, that's an emotional something. You feel that right away. But having something that is significant to you so that you can feel a difference with it. I think once you've got proof that the stuff works, then you can carry on looking at other areas that you want to do. But an excellent starting place is going to be the album Eliminating Self-Sabotage, because that's encompasses some of the different technologies that we use, because we also have some we have a guided imagery program in there and some other subliminal hypnosis programs in there. So you've got approaches that will appeal to everyone. You've got approaches that will give you a more immediate kind of result. Some of the headphone programs, put your headphones on, close your eyes, put your feet up. You're going to feel different right away. That isn't to say that all the problems have gone away. You're just going to feel that bit better. You're going to feel that you're moving onto the right track. And that's what Inner Talk is all about. It's not about making humongous changes. It's about changing the trajectory of your life. So you're on this path going straight, and now you make a change, and now more and more positive things, you know, you get that divergence. So yeah, that's absolutely what I would suggest. You have to believe in the power of your own mind. You have to, you know, intake this information. I will often put stuff on my Facebook page or Instagram. Eldon does the same thing on his Facebook pages and on Instagram. But and it's not that we need, I totally believe in the power of my mind, but having the reminders will stop you from going down that track of everyone around you telling you, oh, you're at a certain age now, you've got to start taking it slow. I don't need to take it slow. I still run. I do my marathons. You're active too. Just go. Yeah, I'm going to live life to the full. Live life to the full, live it to the max. I want to remove all of these obstacles.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And just as a clarification, I know the answer, but I want you to share it. Is this safe and okay for children to use?
Absolutely. It's like anything, you're not going to have your child watch an R-rated movie, So in that regard, maybe you want to look at the affirmations. Yeah, 99% of our programs are perfectly fine for children, just like you would have, positive TV going on in the background. These are positive affirmations. We do have a program, intimacy and relationships. Maybe you want to look at the affirmations and decide if you want to play that when your kids are around. There isn't anything drastic. There isn't anything more than they're going to see on TV anyway. But you can choose, and all of our programs come with a published list of affirmations.
Right.
So you can always check it. The subliminal programs, yeah, definitely fine for children. And we have a number of programs that are specifically geared to children. So they talk about school and stress in school and making friends and all of that kind of stuff. But most of our programs, yeah, totally fine. But use your own judgment. As I said, trust yourself. Look at the affirmations and say, is it okay if I'm reading these affirmations out loud and my child is here? If
Perfect.
the answer is fine, go with it.
Okay. And that's
Believe
very
in
cool.
yourself.
Yeah, I think that's basically your words of wisdom, which I was just going to ask. So you just said it, that believing in yourself and is so, so important, a big message. And the intertalk technology, like you said, it's been, proven in decades of, research in various areas. I remember some of the research in the prisons, which were extremely impressive to me. And in the past, we had a whole bunch when I had an office. We would share them in the office, then people would purchase them from the office in CD form. So now I'm assuming they're in digital form as well. Not
both. Yep. You can order downloadables. You can order physical. Whatever your preference is.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah,
So
but believing in yourself matters, and your beliefs matter.
yes.
So guard your mind, protect your mind, choose how you want to program it. Program it with the positive stuff that supports you, that uplifts you, that helps you on your goals, helps you achieve your goals.
Yeah, perfect. Innertalk-store.com is where you go. Thank you so much, Ravinder. It's been delightful to have you on the show. Long overdue. I'm so thrilled for all the work that you're doing and that your book is coming out fall of 2024, Mind Training. Just really excellent work. I got a chance to preview the book, so thank you for that. And yeah. And I want to thank all my Light Warrior, Light Medicine community for tuning in. And we'll put all the links below this video or wherever you are on the podcast, so you can check out Ravinder. She's on Facebook, as is Eldon, as well as the Intertalk store. All right. So thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you so much, Karen. Very much appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Until next time, my friend. Bye for now, and bye everyone.